he just beat the brakes off me. And so I was like, I never want this to happen again. And so that's why I decided to start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay. And so I guess, how does your discipline from like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, how has that translated into the rest of your career? So, I want to welcome everyone to another episode of What Drives You. I am here with someone who can probably beat me up. He has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is also the leader of a real estate team here in Charlotte, North Carolina. His name is Matthew Moreira. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Doing wonderful. So Matthew, kind of like, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got into real estate.
Yeah, so when I first, I'll go back to when I was 18 and I first started working. I actually worked in construction at first. I used to do trim carpentry, and it got to the point where I started getting, contracts with big builders like Ciminini, Syntex Homes, Pulte Homes. And once I started building it up, what happened was the recession of 2008 happened. And so pretty much all the communities that we were doing closed down, or they stopped building at that time. So for a little while there, I was working in restaurants. And it's kind of a funny story how I got into real estate. It wasn't like it was something that was long or planned out, or what it was is a friend of mine called me up and he's like, hey, let's get a real estate license. And for me, I thought it would have been it was a good idea because it was around 2013. I've been working in restaurants for several years, and I felt like the economy had to come back at some point. And I thought there's probably not a lot of real estate agents because of what happened, so it might be a good idea for me to get my real estate license.
Okay. No. So that's awesome. And so you've been practicing real estate since 2013 now, is it?
2013, yeah.
All right. So I guess, being that you have been in real estate now for over a decade, what are some of like the big changes that you've seen here in the Charlotte market since you've been practicing?
So when I first got my license, the interest rates were super low at that time. They were 3%. Some people get 2.5%. But another thing that was also low was the home prices. You could easily buy, the average house at $120,000. $300,000 would have pretty much been a mansion for today's standards. But the thing was, when I first got my license, not a lot of people wanted to buy houses. They were still scared because of the 2008 recession. A lot of people had this idea that it wasn't a good idea to buy. I tried to reach out to as many people as possible, but that's all what they kept telling me. We don't know how the economy is going to be. It could get worse again. We're unsure. So there wasn't a lot of buying at that time. For me, the way that I got busy is, so I was 25, and so most of my friends didn't want to buy a house at the time. So how I started was I would call my parents' friends and reach out to them.
Okay. No, that's cool. Like, yeah, at 25, I wasn't really thinking about buying a house either.
Yeah.
So I completely understand that. I know that you have your black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, where did that kind of come about?
So before real estate, I used to work at this restaurant called Shima Brazilian Steakhouse. And so one of the gauchos, or the meat servers, he was a teacher. And so he kept inviting me to the classes. So one day I finally went. But the thing that drew me there was one of the other guys that worked with us at the time. He was a professional fighter. And I used to give him shit when we were working. And I was like, there's no way you could beat me up. And I would push him around, try to give him a headlock. And so the first day when I went there, he's like, no, me and you. And he just beat the brakes off me. And so I was like, I never want this to happen again. And so that's why I decided to start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay. And so I guess, how does your discipline from like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, how has that translated into the rest of your career?
So it's funny, a lot of people always say that. They're like, oh, you must have so much discipline because you do jiu-jitsu. And to me, to be honest, it's just an obsession. It's so in the beginning, I thought, I'm gonna get my real estate license. If I sell, one house a month, that's good enough because I can train twice a day at jiu-jitsu. So the idea was behind real estate is like I'll be able to train more jiu-jitsu, only selling one house. Fortunately, I got super busy, and for a little bit, I wasn't training as much jiu-jitsu as I want. But I would say, what drives me in real estate also is that obsession. I feel like to be successful, you have to have some level of obsession. Discipline does help, but I feel like obsession is more the driving factor.
Okay. One of the questions I like to ask people on this channel is, like, what makes you successful?
I would have to say again the obsession. I've been asked before why I didn't quit, because it took me a year to sell my first house, and then the following year I sold like 7, and people were like, how come you never quit? And to be honest, it was something that I never really even thought about. I was working another job at the time, so I would clean restaurants in the morning, I would work at restaurants at nighttime, and then try to do real estate during the daytime. And what I would do is just call and reach out to as many people as possible. I feel like what made me more successful in real estate is I'm Brazilian, so I had that Brazilian community that I could reach out to, and in my mind, I was going to make every Brazilian person buy a house.
No, that's awesome. I guess I'm one that's really cultured. I'm from Bermuda originally, so I guess talk to me a little bit about your Brazilian background, because or the Brazilian community here, because I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, so the Brazilian community definitely has grown. I feel like my parents were probably some of the first people here. Right now, if I had to guess, I want to say there's probably around 30,000 Brazilian people here. It could be even more than that. And a lot of the people that I work with in the beginning work in construction. And I think also too, what also helped me working with the Brazilian community is they all have that American dream in mind. That's one of the reasons they want to come here. So a lot of them, they want to buy a house. And I think selling houses is a lot different than selling, for example, creams in the middle of the mall, or what I'm talking about, when you go to the mall, they have people trying to sell you something. Everyone wants to buy a house, or at least majority of people want to buy a house. And the thing is, a lot of people have misconceptions about buying a house, like how much money they need down, what it's going to take. And some people think it's a lot harder. So what I would do with my sphere of influence is I would meet with them far before they would even buy a house. So I've had people where I met with them, 4 years before they even bought a house, and I would constantly stay in contact with them throughout those 4 years. And I've even had it to the point where some people, as soon as they get here from Brazil, they would contact me and ask me what do they have to do to be able to buy a house. And a lot of my clients, they're self-employed, and so it's definitely sometimes can be challenging, especially when it comes to taxes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I got to educate them on how they should be doing their taxes, finding the right tax people for them, and just going from there.
Okay. Did you play soccer at all? Or football?
I played soccer in middle school some.
Okay.
But yeah, I used to play soccer a lot.
Now, one of my dreams in life is to go to Brazil and play football on the beach or something, because I grew up playing soccer. My dad was played for our national team. I wasn't that good, but I did play. I played pretty well all through middle school, high school. It wasn't until my senior year of high school that I kind of stopped. I got injured.
Yeah.
Had a back injury, and so that was kind of the end of my soccer career, because I just got lazy. It wasn't I couldn't go back to doing it. It was just there's parties now. I'm going off to college. And then the college I went to, they didn't have an actual team. They only had an intramural team. And I went out to practice the first day, and I scored goals. And I was like, this is too easy.
Yeah.
I want a challenge. I want to just be. And so that was kind of how I stopped. I do play occasionally here and there. I was in a Sunday league here in Charlotte. But yeah, one of my goals is just to go to Brazil, just to play, just to have a kick. I know I'm going to get schooled because the Brazilian talent when it comes to football is amazing. But
I think the reason that you see a lot of talent come from Brazil also is how big the country is. I feel like the pool is definitely a lot bigger. But one thing that I feel like in Brazil they play more of is they play more in the courts than necessarily fields. Obviously they have fields that they play in.
Right.
But a lot of people, they'll have like courts that you can go pay memberships to, and then that's what they play a lot more in, or in the streets. Especially kids that play a lot in the streets.
Yeah, Joga Bonita.
Yeah. Or futsal is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, growing up, I definitely did play a lot of soccer until I started jiu-jitsu, and then I kind of leaned more into that.
Okay. Have you ever thought about going pro with your jiu-jitsu or anything?
No, but I do like to compete. This year, I competed probably about 5 times so far for the year. I just like the competition more for the psychological purpose of, you're training for something, and then you have to go out there and perform. And the hard part I feel like about competing is a lot of times you'll get out in your head, and you go out there and you make mistakes because you're overthinking it. So I try to get into the rhythm of competing so I don't make those mistakes. And I feel like it gives you a confidence that can translate to other things such as real estate.
Okay. You talked a little bit about your obsession of things. Like, is that, I guess, what kind of get you up out of the morning to be so obsessed with real estate?
I don't know. I just like I just like the idea of helping people to buy a house. In a way, I kind of feel like I'm building up my community, if that makes sense. Helping people build generational wealth. And I've heard people where they say they'll come with the idea, well, I heard people they bought a house and they've lost money, or what if the economy goes down? But the majority of people that I've known or I've sold houses to, I feel like their wealth has only increased. And I feel like after you buy the first house, a lot of times it's easier to buy the second house because you already have the down payment that you put down the first, and the value of the house has gone up. Now, I don't think home prices will go up always. There will obviously be times in the market where it can go down, but the general trajectory of home prices is to go up because land is a commodity that they're not making more of.
Yeah.
It's not like a car, there's only a certain amount of land, and the desirability of an area definitely affects that. But yeah, I don't know, I have a friend from jiu-jitsu. He's like, another thing that I noticed about you, like winning. I feel like part of my session is winning too.
Okay.
Not only like I like to help people, but also like the competition of it, of constantly doing better and doing more.
Okay. No, that's really dope that you like kind of had that obsession and figured out like I just really want to keep doing this, like, and you study it and learn everything real estate related. What are some things, I guess, or what are some places where you like kind of study real estate? Like, are you listening to like Bigger Pockets, or are you just reading all the Inman news, or?
Oh, so like things that I'll do. So like, if we go out of town, anytime we go out of town, I'll go on Zillow and I'm sitting there and I'm looking through like the houses in the area. But I just like looking at houses in general, and that's sometimes my wife will complain about that. We're on vacation and I just want to ride through neighborhoods and look at the different types of houses. But another thing that I do is like in my free time, I look through the MLS. So I'm constantly looking at houses on the market. I'll go on the GIS systems for the different counties. I'll look on there. I'll go to the planning department for the different counties and cities to see like what new things are going up, what they have planned for the future. I do listen to podcasts. I like Grant Cardone too a lot.
Yeah.
So I'll look at that. But a lot of it is just looking up stuff of what's going on in the area, how it's growing, what construction plans are in the future depending on the place.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, you are obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And you're obsessed with it when your wife starts complaining.
Yeah.
So this the show is called What Drives You, and I like to ask this question because I'm a kind of a car person.
Yeah.
If money was no object, if you didn't have to worry about your wife and kids and, getting them from point A to point B, what would be your dream car?
A Lamborghini Countach.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's mainly because when I was a kid, when you go to the book fair, that was the poster we had on the wall.
I had that same poster.
Yeah.
I used to draw. So my background is in graphic design, and I was a drawer as a kid.
Yeah.
And so I remember drawing that car specifically.
Yeah.
And drawing the wheels and everything like that. I actually got to see one in person. I don't know if you've ever been to California. There's a part of California called Carmel. It's a little bit south of, it's like an hour and a half south of San Francisco. So it's not really, it's kind of more central California. They have a big convention there called Car Week, where every dealership, every high-end luxury brand brings in all their new, their brand new vehicles and all that kind of stuff. And then you have all the people, all their classics and everything. So they'll take over a golf course and just have a show on the golf course of everything: Lamborghini, Ferrari, Pagani, Porsche, any kind of luxury vehicle, you name it. And so I went there with a buddy of mine. So we both started at Apple working together. When I met him, he pulled up in his it was a 90-something Acura Legend.
Yeah.
And he had a nice speaker system in it, but it wasn't a super nice car. It was nice, but it wasn't fancy. And then so that was during our training period. So then when we started working in the store, he pulled up the first day in a Maserati. And I was just like, wait, what is this? And he was like, oh yeah, I have a couple cars.
Yeah.
And so he got me really into the whole car scene. And before I moved to California, my dream car was a BMW 7 Series.
Yeah.
I just wanted a big wide body BMW. Then when we started going to Car Week and stuff, the BMW was that's the woman's car.
Yeah.
That's the wife's car. You got it. And so it just opened up my eyes to seeing a lot of stuff. And seeing a Lamborghini Countach in person, I saw a purple one.
Yeah.
It's one of the best things ever. But I completely relate to that.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, that was the poster that everyone who liked cars a little bit would have wanted.
I would say the second one to that one would probably be the Acura NSX, the 1993, 94, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Pulp Fiction. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Wolf's car in Pulp Fiction. I really liked the first time I saw that one. I know it's probably not the fast or anything. I just think that it has a unique look to it. I follow a couple pages on Instagram where they have some and they made modifications to it. It's just a car I really like too.
Yeah, I was on Instagram the other day and I follow a couple car pages. I'm kind of obsessed with cars a little bit. And the guy was walking through Tokyo and he just found an NSX R-Line, with dust all on it. Hadn't been moved in years, just sitting there in the garage. And it was this car is so rare. You can't really find it.
Yeah.
It's just sitting here in the middle of Tokyo on some random street.
That's crazy.
The NSX that was a beautiful vehicle. I was always into part of me. So I got really into cars because of Fast and Furious, the first movie.
Yeah.
That was kind of where my initial obsession came from. I was always a James Bond fan, so my dream car is Aston Martin DBS.
Yeah.
But I liked the tuner style cars as well. So I always wanted the Toyota Supra.
Yeah.
Or the Toyota 86. So I like to, those the Japanese cars, the Acuras and everything like that. So that's a good. I like that one too.
Yeah.
I guess I have a couple other questions that I like to ask. Kind of car related. Has there ever been a car that you wanted and almost had, and then you didn't end up getting it?
Not at the moment. I'm trying to think of like if there was a car. No, but it's funny because I kind of think the car that I was thinking about getting after, because right now I drive a Honda Civic, so I have 3 cars. I have a Honda Civic, I have a Mercedes-Benz SUV, and then I have a GMC Yukon. Okay. The AT4 is like the off-road package, right. But I kind of want to give the Honda Civic to my daughter, and then I want to get a BMW, like a C63, something like that, or a C43. Yeah. Not BMW, Mercedes. Sorry, Mercedes, yeah. So that's like something that I've been thinking about, but I want to wait because right now we bought a house and we're remodeling the house. So I want to. That's number one priority right now.
Yeah. How old is your daughter?
So my youngest daughter, she's 4, and then I have a daughter that's 10, and then I have another daughter that's 13 and 16.
Okay. So yeah, it's a lot of kids. I only have the 2. My daughter is 6, and then my son is 21 months.
Okay.
So he'll be 2 in January. So I'm still working up to to that point, but no, that's cool that you want to give her the Honda Civic. Those cars, if you treat them right, will last forever.
Oh yeah, I like Honda Civics too. Mm-hmm. That's like my 3rd Honda Civic. I've usually had so. When I first got my real estate license, I got a Acura TL.
Okay.
It was a 2008. I don't know if you remember that. That was, for me, that's like one of the prettier TLs that they had. The thing was, I bought it like salvage title for $2,000, but no one knew that it had a salvage title. I eventually had to get rid of it because I guess whenever it was hit, it did something to the body and it kept wearing out one of the tires. So like one of the tires on that car, I constantly had to change because it kept wearing out and then it would pop.
Yeah.
So when I first started showing houses, I didn't have a car. So when I was working at Shima, it was bad there in the beginning. I had an Acura TL. I had a 1995 Acura TL, like the it was like boxy, the square body. It was pretty cool, but I had to sell that to pay for my rent. And then so I was going back and forth on a bike, and it was like 12 and a half miles each way. And then eventually my dad let me use one of his older cars, but it was like those 2-door Ford Explorers. I don't know if you ever saw that. And so the driver's door wouldn't open, so every time I had to show a house, I'd have to get out of the passenger seat. And so what I would do is I was always trying to get up there extra early, so I could get out of the car and they wouldn't see me getting out of the car. I just sucked when I had to show like multiple houses, and I was just like, oh no, something happened. I had to explain it,
Right.
But then eventually I saved enough money to get that Acura TL, the 08 one.
No, that's interesting how you have to like hustle it and like ride a bike 12 miles. Like, that's crazy. I'm pretty sure you was really fit that.
Yeah, I was. I was a lot lighter too.
No, that's really cool, man. I like stories like that because it just shows like your determination. Like you weren't gonna let anything kind of get in the way of what it is that you had set your mind to, and that's really cool. There was a couple cars in my life that I always wanted, that I almost bought. My dad told me no. Yeah. It was like a '93 Acura Legend. Yeah. The box.
Yeah, I like the box ones. Yeah.
It was a 2-door manual, and like it had like a short shift stick and everything. Like my buddy had kind of hooked it up, and he was like he only wanted like $2,500 for it, and I was like, oh cool, I can go home. I used to go to Bermuda and make that in the summer. Yeah. And I got back, and my dad was like, yeah, no. Yeah. I was like, I'm not letting you buy that. And so,
why didn't he want you to buy it?
It was red, and the guy that drove it used to get pulled over a lot.
Oh, okay.
And he was lighter than me.
Oh, okay.
And my dad was like, yeah, I'm not going to let you out here be driving around in this car. And he's getting pulled over. Like, I know you're going to get pulled over. So he was like, no. So that was the one car that I kind of really wanted. Yeah. That I kind of missed out on. Like, it was beautiful. Like, candy red with like the tan interior. It would have been a nice car. And then when I went to school in Florida, I didn't buy a car because I always had a roommate that had one. And if I needed to go somewhere, I just, and this is like before Uber, so it's not like we were Ubering everywhere.
Yeah.
So if I needed to go somewhere, I'll just like ride with my roommate, whatever. I had a buddy who would just let us use his car, his little Dodge Charger or whatever. We would just be whipping around in that, and so I didn't really like need it. Actually, this is my very first car.
Yeah.
I bought this in 2022, right in the middle of the period when the used car prices had kind of gone up high and then they dipped a little bit.
Yeah.
So I bought it at the dip. But it's funny because like in 2020, I went to the dealership and I was going to get the 2021 GTI, and it was like $24,000, brand new off the lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we're in the middle of the pandemic. I'm not going driving to work.
Yeah.
I don't need it. So I didn't buy it. So then fast forward 2 years later, had to go back to the office, so I wanted a car, and so I ended up buying this for $24,000.
Okay.
2016.
Yeah.
But it has a little bit more character to it, being the MK7. And I don't know, I missed out on having like a brand new car, but I still love it. This is my baby. Like I'm not getting rid of this thing for nothing.
Yeah.
I put some blood, sweat, and tears into this thing already, and it's but it's such a fun car to drive. That's why I love to keep it.
No, my cousin used to have a GTI, and then it had some kind of like turbo kit on it. I can't remember what he said it was done to it, but it had like 400 horsepower. It was fast.
So the buddy of mine that had the put up in the Maserati, whatever, he was one of the first in our crew that bought a GTI.
Yeah.
He had a 2015 version, and he ended up putting like I think a stage 3 turbo kit and everything. He was getting 485 to the wheel in this.
Yeah.
When I say we used to fly, and like he is the type that kind of likes to race.
Yeah.
And so he would be, people with like the Chargers or the Hellcats or whatever, and like he'll pull up, and like he had a sleeper. Like it looks the same, like same black color and everything. His is like more tinted out, whatever. And like, oh yeah, trying to and then he would take off and just smoke people. We had a video where we used to do we did a car rally one time from Menlo Park, California, all the way down to San Luis Obispo. So it was about like a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
Along the coast, which is really beautiful. And so his cousin had an M5, so a brand new BMW M5. That's like pushing like 500 ponies or whatever. And so they did like a rolling start.
Yeah.
Like on the highway, and he just smoked it. Like that car, and that's what that car is kind of the reason why I wanted the GTI. He got one, and then 2 of my other friends got one. So it was 4 of them, but he ended up flipping his because he was following behind a Lamborghini around the corner, and I think it got like squarely on the dirt or something like that. So the Lamborghini slammed brakes, and so instead of trying to slam and like possibly hitting the Lamborghini, he went onto the embankment. Yeah. And the embankment just so happened to drop off.
Oh.
Like it was like a hill, and like went up and like went down.
Yeah.
So when he went, he just went and tumbled and ruined it. Yeah. So it's not, but he has a Audi RS3 now.
Okay.
And he was just showing me the dyno test for it. He's got 1,065 horsepower.
That's ridiculous.
In his Audi RS, and like he's one of those people that like really loves cars. Like he put like the GTI had about 10 grand in it. He's got about like 15 in his Audi, and he had a Porsche Carrera that he had about like 12 or so that he put in.
Are cars like big thing out there in California? Do you think you have more like car clubs like that?
I think it's the bigger car scene in California for sure. Just because like the roads and stuff, like California is huge. Yeah. And so like it's just more availability. A lot of people out there were really big into BMWs. Okay. Like I know like girls and everything that were huge into BMWs and like modding them and all kind of stuff. And so like there was a huge scene for like BMWs, but then just like the car scenes in general, for whatever type of cars, there was always something there. I haven't really found that here in Charlotte yet. I've seen like a couple car meetups, but most of the car meetups that I've seen here for like like the Dodges or the Challengers or whatever. Like, I don't know. I like European and I like Japanese. That would be the car meetings I want to go to. But a lot of
more American.
Yeah, more American muscle.
Have you been to Cars and Coffee?
I haven't been. I didn't know they have one here.
Yeah, they have one here. That's where you'll probably see, like, of course, you'll see people with like their Ferraris and Lamborghinis, but you'll see all types of cars there.
Okay, I gotta look that up.
That's in Whitehall too. That's not that far from you.
Okay, definitely gotta check that out, because I just love, talking cars and stuff. I love to drive.
Do you ever watch the YouTube channel Doug DeMoro? You should check that one out. That's a really good one. He goes like in depth, like every type of cars. Like
okay, I'm probably gonna obsess about that tonight.
Yeah.
Because like Top Gear used to be one of my favorite things to watch. Like I said, I've seen it. Like Fast and Furious is really what like took me off. Like oh, you can do this and all type of stuff. I wanted a Toyota Celica at one point to kind of do the same thing. But yeah, I'll definitely check it out. My last question that I like to ask people is, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh yeah, that is a deep question. It's kind of hard. Like I thought about that before. The thing is, I feel like for different people, I'll be remembered for different things, depending on the person. Like for my kids, obviously, I would hope that I would be remembered as a good dad. For people I worked with, I would hope I would be remembered as a good professional. So I guess it really depends on remembered by who, and for what. But I think overall, I think I would want people to remember me for being someone who's dedicated, someone who is driven by obsession, and that is not just someone who's superficial, but also has looks to have deeper meaning and understanding with things.
Okay. No, that's really good, because like I'm pretty sure your kids think you're a great dad.
Sometimes.
I mean, teenagers you can't really satisfy, but I'm sure the little ones are like, oh, daddy. Because I know that's one of the things I love about coming home is when my kids are like, running up to you and jumping and hugging you. So, no, well, that's really great, man. I really appreciate you, even joining me for this journey today. I know we had to do some stuff early on, but I'm really glad that we were able to kind of have this conversation and, just learn a little bit more about you. Maybe one day I'll come to the jiu-jitsu training and
you might like it.
Take a class or something. I did combat sports as a kid. Like I did karate.
Yeah.
And I've always been like solid, so like I've never been like easy to push over, but I'm not like super big either. I think part of the reason why I didn't want to do combat sports is because I'd be considered a heavyweight. I'm 5'11", 200 right now.
Okay, yeah.
If I cut and like worked out, I can get down to like maybe 185, but that's still,
That's what I usually compete as, heavy.
That's like heavy, light heavy. And I looked at the fighters that I looked at in like just from a standpoint were always like heavyweights. Yeah. And I'm like, I would never want to get in the ring with him.
But I think it's like for boxing, like the heavyweight would be different than like jiu-jitsu or MMA.
True.
Yeah.
Well, even MMA, like John Jones is a heavyweight, like 6'5".
So like in jiu-jitsu, the heavyweight is 204, is between 195 and 204.
Okay.
But I think in MMA it's even more than that. I think like they go up to like 215, 220 or something like that.
Something like that. At my heaviest I gotten was 220. And I don't like that version of myself.
Yeah.
So I'm around 200 right now, and once I really start working out, I can get down to 185, and 185 would be like my comfortable weight. But yeah, I don't know. I just always looked at people who are like just so huge and massive.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't want to fight them.
There's people that I could go against. It could be as much as 260, 280 pounds. I definitely they're the bigger people.
Yeah, see, no. If I was, my dad's only like 5'7". He says he's 5'9", but he's like 5'7". And 5'7", if he got like cut weight, he'd be like 150 something.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit more manageable than,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm borderline tall enough to be a heavyweight, but not. I don't want to do that. So. But I definitely would like to at least try out the class. I've always had an interest in like Brazilian martial arts. I wanted to learn capoeira.
They have that here too. One of the guys I
Yeah.
train with, he has a capoeira gym too.
Okay. Yeah, I've always wanted to like just kind of learn, because I understand. I know the history of capoeira and like how it's it was tied to the slave trade and everything like that, and how they were like masking with their fighting style by making it look like a dance and everything. And so that's why I said I really want to go to Brazil to learn, like do some capoeira and play football.
Yeah.
And then my life will be complete.
There you go.
I can do my Hail Marys to the Jesus statue and come back a great person. So, well, thank you, Matthew, again for joining us. I'm not even sure if the video is still recording, but we'll at least have all the audio.
Okay.
And looking forward to putting this out and sharing your story with the world.
Sounds good.
Have a great day.